Good morning, everyone. How are you all? I hope you're doing well and great and having a lovely day. Well, let's continue with League of Legends, shall we? Well, I said I'm gonna focus mostly on the gameplay, so let's do that. Now, I have to rate this game. I would give it 2.5 or 3 out of 10. Why? Simple. Because this patch has been horrible. This whole season, in fact, has been horrible. Especially the runes and the masteries. They are so absurdly bad. Why? Simple. Because they removed the customization of the champions. Let me give you an example. Let's say you are a Gangplank country, for example. You know his weaknesses. You know his strengths. So depending on the matchup, you're gonna prepare, or you're gonna use a certain runes for a certain champion, such as Darius or Anivia Top. That's a thing now. So, and with that comes an identity of the player. Let's say you are different. You are someone who uses an unorthodox forms. For example, instead of going the normal, which is armor and magic resist with some AD top, you go armor pen with CDR with gold or less death timer or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's part of your imagination or your customization, and that adds depth. Basically, depth, because you never know who you're gonna face and whom you're gonna face and what he's gonna have and what kind of runes he's gonna have. I mean, for goodness sake, you might face Darius Top, who got the AP runes because he got it wrong or forgot to change them. But he can still win because, he's Darius. And as I said before, that adds more depth and makes other players stand out. Because again, going back to the one tricks, if you main a champion like really well, even if they are several champions, hell, you can main the entire champions in the game. But let's say you go into a counter, and you know that counter's weaknesses and strength and why he is counter to you. So you fix the runes to depending on the matchups. But not everyone is you. So you're gonna get something different just to throw someone off, for example, or make them question your motives, and then, you beat them. Because you use an unorthodox strategy. I mean, to be fair, you can still do that today. You can still win using the same strategy over and over, but it just feels bland, uninteresting, and boring, to be fair. Because you're gonna use the same ruins over and over and over. At best, you're gonna use one different ruins, and that's it. For example, in top lane, if you're gonna go Renekton, you're either gonna pick one of these 4 masteries, either Conqueror or Press of the Attack. If you're new, you're probably gonna go Grasp of the Undying, which I don't recommend, or Colossal. I mean, you see this? This is so boring. The old system was fine. As I said, it used to be great, even fantastic, even. It kept me thinking more and more, and sometimes it made me overthink things. But should I get the double-edged sword, or should I get the oppression? Go on and on of why I think the old runes and masteries are better, but we're gonna be here forever, and you're gonna hear me saying this a lot. So for the sake of simplicity and time, I'm gonna say that the old runes and masteries were fine. They didn't need to remove it. That being said, now let's go to the champion. I don't know why Riot hates their old champion. I really don't. From Amumu to Garen, I don't understand why Riot hates these characters. I mean, it's not that hard to fix Garen. Let me give you an example. Here, I can do it. No need for an example. I can do it right here and right now. Garen Cube. Let's make it a blink would reduce damage at least half. That's at least. Have the damage reduced, but make it a blink, and the silence duration increase. His W, instead of being, I'm gonna leave it at the passive as it is, but instead of just giving it like extra tenacity and damage reduction, I would make it like a meat shield, basically. Unlike a Braum W, but instead of just healing and giving the ally an armor and magic resist, Garen swoops in and knocks the enemies back. His E, I'll leave it the same. His ult, I'll just add the passive, which grants the nearby allies armor and magic resist. But after he activates his ult, the passive is gone. Kind of like Taric old ult. And there you go. I spent less than 2 minutes thinking of how to fix Garen, and here I say I did a fine good job. And they haven't even touched him for the longest time. All they did was tweaked him a bit. Garen is, and believe it or not, Garen is one of those who's in a fine state. At least for beginners. But he's still in a fine state. He's the kind of champion that if you underestimate him, he's gonna punish you severely. Unlike characters like Amumu, what are you gonna do? Like seriously, 3-6, what are you gonna do? And your Q, it's so easy to dodge. Especially nowadays, since everyone has a dash or a blink nowadays. Like Camille, Shaco, Darwin, Hari, Vayne. The list goes on and on. I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on this, so let's continue. Let's go to Pantheon. Pantheon, Q. Instead of point and click, ironically, I'll change it to kind of like a channel, kind of like a pike Q. But instead of grabbing the target toward you, Pantheon Q will hit the target. If they are in long range, they're gonna get stunned. If they are in close range, they're gonna get slows. His W, I make it the same. His E, I'll either make it like a sweeping thing, kind of like the Spartans when they rush in, knocking everyone away with their shields and battles. Voila! I just fixed 2 champions who needed help, or rather, tweaked. Go on and how to fix the other champions. Again, we'd be here forever if I would do that. If you would like to know how it's fixed or tweaked or balanced on the other champions dependent on their thematics, let me know in the comment section below. Maybe I'll do it. No promises. Which brings me to the point of lanes. Now, this season, as I mentioned before, has been absolutely the worst, in my opinion. Because the lanes are so bad. No, don't get me wrong. The core lanes are still there. The toxic top lane, who complains that the jungler doesn't gank. The mid lane, who whines GG after one death. The useless ADC, and with the shitty support. And of course, we can't forget the useless jungler who can't do anything. Except feeding, of course, because that's what they're good at. However, this season seems to favor few characters above most. And you might say that's the meta, but no. Even with the old metas, if you're main a single champion and you're really good with him, you can still make him work, even if he's useless, like the old Gangplank. I'll speak about that later in the video in a bit. Right now, let's focus on gameplay. But now it's a complete and utter mess. Should you go AD? Should you bring Bruiser, Tank? Top lane, mid lane, ARAM, Twisted Tree lane, whatever the rotation is gonna be, you don't know. And before you tell me, well, that's what it's about. We need diversity. We need more characters different than ADC at bot lane. I hear you. I've been wanting for this since ever since I started the game. However, this is not the way. You can't play the same champion over and over again and you call that diversity. It doesn't work that way. I'm talking in ranked terms. I'm not talking about normal. Normal, you can do whatever you want as long as you know you're gonna either A, gonna lose, or B, win and have a hell of a time until the enemy team. Also having a few sub by saying, oh my god, ADC Hamidger is better than Silver ADC or some crap. What else? What do we got? I mean, it's been standard that you pick either Swain, Brand, Pike, or basically any snowbally champions at bot lane. That's it. You can't get another character and win. And if you do win, I will call it luck. Or maybe you're too skilled, or a smurf, or all of the above. If that's the case, do us all a favor and delete that account. Please. So there you go. This is all I have to say about the lanes. Because again, I don't want to spend too much time explaining why most of the lanes are stupid at the current meta. And not in a good way. I wish it was stupid in a good way. Like in the old days where Soraka and Janna bot lane. God, what good things. Because it comes down to this, at least in this meta. Do the enemy team have the better jungler? If yes, they automatically win. If you have one feeding team member but the other 4 are good, and I mean by they're doing great, they're stopping the other lanes, you're still most likely gonna lose. Why? Because this season has a large emphasis on teamwork. And you might say, well, that's what MOBA is. It requires teamwork. Well, I agree, but come on, 4 people should be able to carry. One person shouldn't deteriorate the entire game. That shouldn't happen. Because at this point, even if you are more skilled than the enemy team, that one person will cost you the game most likely. How high the chance, you might ask? Well, you have 90% chance of losing because of that one person. And it doesn't matter what he is. He could be support, he could be a mid laner, he could be a jungler, top lane and EDC. It doesn't matter. One person will deteriorate the entire game. Which is a shame. Because you think about it, you're doing all the work. Everyone else is doing all the work. And you have this one person who will just drag the game down. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can still carry your team, even if they are abilities, but it's at least 9 times or 12 times harder than it used to be. You know what, let's move on to the next point. I guess I made my point that the lanes are a total mess. Need to Riot themselves. Now Riot, everyone tells me, is a good game company. I don't believe that. I think they are very, very talented, but they lack direction. And that direction is what drags them down. That's what stopped them from being a great company. Instead, they are below average at this moment. At this season at least, they are below average. The evidence are plenty. The influence point, the ruin system as I mentioned, the old champions, and there are many more issues that plagues it. And they keep promising us they will fix it, they'll make it better. Instead, with each patch, they slowly maturing, making the game worse and worse. I feel like this season alone, they lost half their player base. I mean, the only reason they keep playing, I think it's because the game rotation mode. And I think they know that, and that's why most of the time, most of their rotation modes are Earth. And now we get to the main event, the lore. And oh boy, this is the biggest thing they messed up. To me, this is their biggest mistakes, the lore. I could have forgiven the shitty gameplay. I could have forgiven the toxic music. I could have forgiven that I could lose over and over again. But the lore is the only thing that I can't forgive. And yes, before you throw your comments down there, yes, I'm one of those weirdos who reads about the lore. Why? Because I want to care about the game. I want to invest in the world. I want to be part of it. It makes you feel better. I'm one of those 1% weirdos. Okay? There you go. And I'm gonna simplify the lore because we're gonna be here about 55 minutes for me explaining to you everything. Basically, the lore is like this. There's something called the League of Justice. And this is basically a tournament where people from different backgrounds, of different species, of different races, of different nations, of different sexes, that they go in and participate in. And the league tries its best to grant them their wishes or whatever they desire, whether it might be vengeance, resurrection, or whatever it can be. And here's the best part. That's you. Yes, you, XXX Machina, or whatever your name is. You're not just random asshole with a bunch of who can control a character. You, in fact, are a powerful being who bends space and time, resurrects the dead, and goes beyond the veil of imagination with a single thought. Sounds awesome, right? Well, it's not canon anymore, because there is no such thing as League of Legends. You know, that's the main point of League of Legends. I mean, for God's sake, it's right in the fucking title, right over there. Why do you remove the core concept of League of Legends, your own game? Which brings me to the next point. You see, I loved 6 characters. I couldn't get enough of them. These characters, at least lore-wise, gameplay-wise, only 5 characters. And these characters are Swain, Nasus, Renekton, Thresh, Malzahar, and Kassadin. These characters, I feel like they have a huge dynamic. And honorable mention, Katarina and Garen as well. I feel like these characters have a huge dynamic and a great chemistry with the world they are in. Which is a shame. A shame that they removed the old lore and replaced it with something generic. Now, I'm not gonna spend too much time explaining most of the characters. In fact, I'm not gonna explain Malzahar and Kassadin. Why I think their old lore is better than the new one. Otherwise, we're gonna be here for eons. I touched briefly upon Thresh, and I want to illustrate why I like him so much. You see, as I explained in the previous video, you don't know what story is true. Is he some regular Spectre, or is he something more? Is the story surrounding him is true, or just some legends? You don't know. I love that about the old lore. There are some certain characters that you don't know everything about them. There are multiple theories that you have to go through, and even then they're not necessarily correct. I know that's the point of a theory, but still, it gives you room for imagination rather than some generic stuff having because another generic stuff haven't. I'll get more in detail that in a bit. Right now, let's just focus on the character. And again, I'm not gonna go through everyone. In fact, I'm gonna give a brief summary to 2 characters and a whole biography for 1 character, which he is gonna be my favorite. And these 2 characters that I'm gonna give the brief summary about are Nasus and Renekton. Basically, in the old lore, Nasus and Renektons were guardians. They safeguard knowledge, but they also teach it. Renekton is the guardian of that knowledge. And Nasus is the actual guide for the knowledge. Basically, Nasus is the teacher, and Renekton is the actual guardian. And Renekton, whenever he feels like someone with ill intent is trying to get in and learn about that knowledge, he will send them away. However, thanks to that, he got, his mind got twisted, because the amount of people that got sent away, people that actually got admitted into the knowledge sanctuary with Nasus. And with that, Renekton began to doubt everything about other dimensions. Like, he thought that everything else is evil, except the very plane that he is in. And he thought the best way to protect his own realm is to obliterate everything. Basically, he succumbed to something, quote-unquote, the people of Nasus and Renekton call the blood rage, which basically, when you are with people with ill intent for long enough, you're gonna become like them, or even worse. And with that in mind, Renekton wanted to purge everything that isn't like him or like his brother's species. Nasus, of course, tried to calm his brother. He's still clinging to hope. Maybe he can get through his head. Maybe he can save him. After all, it is his brother, and what our brothers are for. Sadly, Renekton would have none of it. And he told Nasus, "You're either with me or you're against me." And so, Renekton and Nasus waged war against each other. Those who follow Renekton's path are fueled with rage like him. They began to think everyone else is impure and needs to be eradicated. And the people alongside Nasus, well, they are too goody two-shoe. They don't believe that's the solution. And so centuries of war and strife has happened. Centuries of strife and poverty has hit their lands. And finally, Nasus and Renekton met each other in battle. And they fought for the last time. And before Nasus can deliver the final blow against his brother Renekton, he was swept away, and the inseparable brothers became separate. Renekton ended somewhere in the sewers of Zaun, still enraged, not realizing what's going on. It seems that the madness has cost him even his basic senses. But he caught a scent all too familiar. It was his brother Nasus. He believes, even deep down, even though he was succumbed to his rage, he believes that scent, his brother's scent, is the only way to his salvation. Nasus ended up near the League of Justice, next to several summoners that were trying to summon him for ages. Nasus, of course, and understandably enraged, demanded an explanation out of the summoners, for he was about to release his brother from his suffering. And that weighs heavy on him, that he was about to release him, but could not. The League of Legends summoners calmed him and said, "Well, we've been watching you for a while, and let's work together. You know our knowledge are vast. You know that there's a huge possibility that us and Xerath and Zilean could possibly heal your brother. So please, fight with us in the League of Justice, and we will find your brother and then find his cure." Reluctantly, Nasus agreed, even though he doesn't trust them. But again, he will do anything to help his brother, even if it means selling out to these scums of us summoners. And that's basically a huge summary to the old lore. Let's begin with the new lore, and I'm gonna try to best as I can to summarize it as I did with the old lore. Basically, the Nasus and Renektons are not from another plane of existence. They are from Runeterra, which basically where League of Legends takes place on. And there weren't actually dog and one is a crocodile. There used to be humans. Long story short, the Emperor realized their value, and he invited them to become his soldiers. Of course, Nasus is a scholar, and Renekton is a great warrior. Nasus is very ill, so the priest decide to make him partake a particular ritual to make him ascend to a higher being. But he has to go through some trials. Of course, Nasus couldn't complete the trial because he was very, 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 very sick. Renekton, because he loves his brother, helped him with his trial, even though that meant him dying. But surprise, surprise, instead of Renekton dying, he somehow ascended with Nasus, and they became the first ascended beings. Of course, throughout the war, they became very, very, very efficient, like they themselves are an armies. However, the Emperor, which is Azir, or rather, the Emperor's son Azir, wanted everyone to ascend. But of course, thanks to a prick named Xerath, he didn't want anyone to ascend. In fact, he wanted to take all the power to himself. Long story short, he succeeded and he destroyed the entire Shurima Desert. And population, or at least most of the populations. The only ones that are left are Nasus and Renekton. Of course, because he is ascended, he can't be killed, but he can be trapped. So Nasus and Renekton decide to trap him under the city of Shurima. And when they fought, it seems like Xerath was having the upper hand. However, because Renekton loves his brother so much, which is he loves Nasus, he decided to push Xerath into the trap that they had made and spend an eternity basically watching him. Nasus reluctantly agrees to this. Well, he didn't agree. He rather was okay with it, with a heavy heart. Of course he is. And you might ask him, but wait, even though Renekton is prick, he loves his brother very much. So why is he angry all the time and calls Nasus a traitor? Well, because for some bizarre, unknown reason, Xerath told him so. You know, his mortal enemy, the one he destroyed his entire civilization and everyone he loves, he told him that his brother left him. Which is basically 2 steps below. You're a coward! Seriously? You expect me to believe that? Renekton is mad because of this and blames Nasus out of all the people. Fuck you, right? What is this garbage? And that's a brief summary. Now you can see why I love the old lore. At least I hope so. You see, in the old lore, they are 2 brothers. They love each other so much. Even Renekton, when he was consumed by rage, he still had feelings to his brother. In fact, he knew the only person who can kill him is his brother Nasus. That's why when he fought in his other dimensions, he wanted Nasus to kill him because he knew no one can beat him besides his brother. And Nasus wanted to release him from his misery. He didn't want him to die, but what choice did he have? If he leaves him, he's gonna continue killing and mayheming and plotting over and over again. And so, with a heavy heart, he has to end him. And that's like a Greek tragedy kind of thing. Which is fitting considering they are from Egyptian mythology. And instead of the new garbage that I don't know where they're coming from. Actually, I know, and I'm getting to this point after I talked about my favorite character in the entire game. And that character is Swain. And I don't know where to begin. Well, let's begin with his personality. His personality in the old lore is a master tactician, a guy who's at least always 5 steps ahead of you, who can always trick you that you have the upper hand until he takes your hopes and dreams away from you. Well, and your life and soul too. So yeah. And his theme and characters fit that. Even his abilities, I would say, fit that. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with his lore. In the old lore, Swain, as I mentioned, is a master tactician. The earliest recount of Swain is during a treatment, basically, or a surgery. The doctor who was treating him at the time couldn't hold his stomach at the sight. You see, when Swain brought to the medics, his legs, or rather his entire knee, has been shattered, his tibia broken completely, wounds and blood spilling everywhere. Even his bone is apparent. And on top of that, Beatrice was eating the flesh out of him. And the doctor was asking question about Swain, like basic question like, how does it feel? Does it hurt? Medical stuff we don't need to know about. Swain calmly answered him of all his question. The doctor suggested that he be treated with magic. Swain, for some reason, refused, and no one to this day understand why. Anyway, with a crippled man in Noxus, you'd think he would be shamed and shunned, and usually that's what happens. If you lose a battle, you are a failure. But not with Swain, surprisingly. In fact, the opposite happened. He climbed through the ranks fast, like really fast. Like within less than a year, he became a general with his own platoon. And people began to speculate that Swain isn't really a human. He's actually a demon. And this place that he wears is just a mask. And no one can confirm or deny it. Not even the Summers understand what he is. In fact, during his trial, which is the Justice League, before you get accepted, you have to go through a trial, whether it be physical or mental or magic or whatever. And Swain somehow broke out of the illusion of summoners. You know, the character that controls these people. He actually broke away from their power. Wow. Okay then. Also, he never lost. Like, ever. And that battle that he got wounded in is because some general... Well, I don't know exactly the details, so you decide the theories that you can get. Anyway, he also never lost a battle. Like, ever. I don't know if he lost during that medic, when he were with that medic, but I think that was the cost of his victory, which was his legs. Also, this guy somehow steals the souls out of you while you're alive. And I'm not talking like Thresh. Thresh requires you to die for its victory before he steals your soul. Swain doesn't. He steals your souls while you're alive. So yeah, you can see why I love this guy. There's so many mysteries about him, and his powers is goddamn ridiculous, to say at least. I mean, he's broke out of the summoners. Not a lot of people can do that. In fact, the people who can break out of the summoner's grips are, you can name them in your one hand only. He used to be such a badass. Oh, and he attained the highest position possible. He became the Grand General of Noxus, the highest position. Also, he takes care of his soldiers. I know I probably mentioned that before, but he takes care of his soldiers, you know? Like health benefit, honor, and all the good stuff. Yeah. You see why this guy is a badass. Also, everyone who faced him lose. I mean, J4, for example, he faced Swain before and lost. Lost. Against an old man who can be in his 70s, or rather 80s even. Come to think of it, no one knows how old he is. No one knows anything about him. So, there you go. I can't stress enough how I love this character and how I love his personality. He's all about tactician and planning. Sure, his gameplay isn't exactly that, but still, it's fitting for the theme. A guy who steals your souls is a guy you don't want to mess with. Especially if he can steal your soul while you're alive. Now we get to the new Lord Slayer. Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. Sorry. I know I said I'm gonna restrain myself, but I can't. Okay, keep back. Basically, instead of him being mysterious, he has a parents. His parents warned him not to deal with the Black Rose because, I don't know, reasons. They thought of them as assassins or something. I don't know. It never explains why his parents told him never to deal with the Black Rose. The Black Rose, if you're wondering, are a group of individuals that are considered the real rulers of Noxus. And it's led by their monarch, LeBlanc. As Swain grew, he gained more and more power. In fact, most of his power came from his parents, so whatever. Until his biggest hour became his biggest failure, which is the invasion in Ionia. Basically, he met Aurelia there, and she was holding the blades. I really don't want to go into details because I fucking hate the new Aurelia as well. In fact, 98% of the new champions and old champions in the new lore, I fucking hate them with a burning passion. But nothing comes close to Swain. And of course, Aurelia cut off his arm and leg. Or I believe just his arm. I don't remember. Swain, of course, shunned and ashamed, went back to his homeland a broken man. What a loser. Fuck you. Of course, he heard whispers or some shit. He traced their origin inside the heart of some sort of citadel, basically. The very heart of Noxus, basically. He went in there, and realizing that he was fighting over petty things. He needs to unite the lands to fight an enemy no one can describe how horrible they are. Spoiler alert, I think they are the Void. There. I just gave you the summary of what's gonna happen. Or I think most likely what's gonna happen. Who cares? Oh. And that's it. That's how he became Swain. And that's it. I mean, they literally took Swain, who was a mix of Voldemort and Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, and mixed with a bit from the Chaos Gods of Warhammer 40k. That's how cool he used to be. And they turned him into fucking Lucius Malfoy. Lucius fucking Malfoy. Why? Why? Actually, I think I know why, Riot. It's because he wasn't good looking, wasn't he? This is what all you care about not right nowadays, don't you? It's all about the image and how pretty they are and how good looking they are, so you can attract more mainstream audience rather than taking care of your own story, showing it a bit of love and care. Do you see how lifeless and generic everything is? And then it clicked on me why. Because League of Legends isn't trying to be League of Legends. It's trying to be World of Warcraft. Fucking World of Warcraft. But instead of World of Warcraft, we get World of Warcraft MOBA Edition. Why? Why? Why did you do this, Riot? Seriously, why? Why couldn't you just continue on in your own path? You were original. You were inspiring. You have a lot of charm and character in your game. But instead, you throw it all away just to get to be mainstream. What's worse, your mainstream is losing you the player base. Slowly, maturely, you're gonna be disappearing. I doubt you don't want to do that. In fact, Blizzard is literally stealing from you guys. Why do you copying them? Why are you breaking what doesn't need to be fixing? Or more accurately, why are you breaking what doesn't need to be fixing? It doesn't make any sense what you're doing right now. In fact, most of the characters that you bring are either emo, generic, or annoying as fuck, like Zoe! Here, I mean, name one character that his motive isn't vengeance, isn't saving the world, or isn't conquest. It's one of these three. It's always one of these three. And don't get me started on what they get gameplay in their voices. Which brings me to my final point. The voices. I feel like Riot doesn't respect anyone anymore. They only care about their money and their image. And the best example I can give is NASA's old voice and Gangplank old voice. But mostly NASA's. You see, the original voice actor of NASA's died in, I believe, 2012 or 2013. I'm not certain. May he rest in peace. And they decided the best way to honor a man like that is to change his voice. Of course. What the f*** are you thinking? That was the guy's legacy. The character of Nasus. And his voice was amazing. I think it's on par with Morgan Freeman. Morgan fucking Freeman. You know, the guy who did Penguins. And we replace him with this generic... Actually, it's not even generic, it's just bad. Plain bad. In fact, I can do better than the voice actor that they chose. You can quote me on that. From the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of half the few player base that you just lost. Fuck you! Now you might be thinking I hate Riot, and I do, I really do. I used to be thinking of them they are above average. In fact, I felt like they used to be better than a AAA company, like even Blizzard or whatever. But nowadays, no, they're worse. They're a lot worse. And this is painful, because this is a game which the like we have never seen before. What we did with the MOBA, the original Dota, sorry, but no one talks about it. That's a video for another day. But this is a game that came out of nowhere and shocked the world by surprise. We don't want to lose it, actually. And I want it to continue. I really do. Riot, as I said, they are very talented game company. They just lack direction. They need direction. This video is getting too long. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go with part 3 or part 2.5. But suffice to say, this is all I have to say. And I hope to see you guys next with either the part 2.5 or the #1 franchise that got ruined. Actually, never mind. It didn't get ruined. It's getting desecrated. And I'm gonna leave that as a surprise. I see you all next time and have a great day. But before I leave, please make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you don't like it, please dislike it and tell me why. I appreciate all your feedback, whether be it negative or positive. Also, I highly recommend you watch the Actman video of what happened to League of Legends. His video goes more in depth about the voice and characters of a certain champions. Basically, more in the points of character that I wanted to discuss but didn't have the time. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time and have a great day or night.